everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about a new scene that we actually got. It was actually in the Super Bowl teaser, but I didn't talk about it at all. So I do apologize for that. I was doing my video yesterday and I was like, wait, I didn't talk about like the first couple of minutes of scenes. Like I talked about almost 2/3 of it, but like not like the first part of it. So I want to break down that. And I also want to combine this with a new Rick Grimes teaser that we actually got today that looks really incredible. I normally wouldn't point this out, but this one, the quality of it anyways, looks absolutely incredible. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. We are 13 days away exactly until the show premieres on February 25th. In 2 more days, it's the 14th, and that is when the early reviews will be posted. There's going to be a lot of early reviews, and based on previous experience, I do think the early reviews, most of them are going to be pretty not spoilery, though. I think in terms of the not spoilery stuff, what they will likely get into though is they'll say stuff like the first 3 episodes really, like, you get into some of the CRM stuff, but it mostly focuses on what Rick Grimes has been up to and what Michonne's been up to. And, it's little things like that where it's kind of spoilery in a way, because now we know that the first 3 episodes focus more on that. We might not get to certain things until later on, right? So in terms of early reviews, that's the thing. You kind of have to be careful. It is exciting to read stuff about it, and I will obviously read all about it, and I'll talk about whatever in my videos, and we'll go over all the early reactions and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to warn you guys that there usually is spoilers, at least light spoilers like that. There are sometimes just articles and stuff that will just post spoilers, or they'll be more way more direct with certain things. They'll be like, oh, this thing happens here, or this thing kind of thing. So yeah, you just got to be careful with things like that. But yeah, February 14th, that's going to be out there. And then next week, I don't think there's anything really happening that week, but I mean, it's the last week before the show premieres that weekend, on the Sunday. So really, what's kind of insane about it is we have 2 more weekends left, right? This weekend coming up, nothing's happening, but the weekend after is The Ones Who Live. So there's just going to be a lot of promotion. Actually, I believe next week, I'm wrong about that. I believe next week actually is the New York premiere, and then there's going to be a lot more talk about certain things. So we did get a lot of information already, but going into that last week before the show premieres, there's probably going to be more stuff. They will reveal more footage. There's going to be a lot more hype and all of that, but really right now people are just so excited about, obviously, the Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. And what I'm really interested in is how much they start to promote Daryl Dixon and Dead City, because I feel like right now it's almost perfect timing to promote that, right? Dead City, I guess they're going to be filming. There could be some stuff. I think they might wait on that for a bit. I think for sure Dead City is going to be getting a teaser at Comic-Con this year. That makes a lot of sense for me. Is it going to be a trailer? Probably not, but I think a teaser of some kind, I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think by then they'll probably be done filming, or they'll be on the last couple of episodes of season 2. And the show's probably going to be coming out early 2025. So I think Dead City is going to be very similar to The Ones Who Live in terms of promotion. If you think of The Ones Who Live, since Comic-Con, we got a couple of teasers, right? We got a small teaser then, and there was some other stuff, just a bunch of details regarding the season and all that, but slowly stuff was announced. There's new casting here and there, this and that, and then really it was the last month or 2 is when stuff really picked up. So I think we'll really see a lot of stuff for Dead City in about a year from now, or less than a year from now, about 10-11 months from now. But before that, we'll get teasers every month or 2 or something like that, very short things, just sort of like The Ones Who Live. We got a lot of those scenes with Rick and Michonne. There was these teasers here and there. It was very, very short kind of thing. Daryl Dixon, though, I could totally see them releasing a teaser of some kind the second that The Ones Who Live ends. I think an actual trailer, I think, is a little bit too soon, because I think the show's going to be dropping in September, most likely. Who knows? They could do October, but I'm kind of expecting September. So the way I'm viewing it is that's basically going to be kind of what it is. As soon as The Ones Who Live is over, they could announce a season 2, and then there could be something with Dead City, or not Dead City, but Daryl Dixon season 2, hyping up the return of Melissa McBride and a bunch of stuff like that. And then at that point, obviously, we'll have to wait all of April, May, and June, and then a bit into July, obviously, for Comic-Con. But April, to me, we're still going to be talking about The Ones Who Live. And then by the end of April, going into May, they're going to be filming a lot of stuff with Dead City. So there'll be stuff with that. There's going to be teasers here and there, I'm sure, with Daryl Dixon. And so I think May and June will be the months where it's kind of not a lot going on, maybe May for sure. But things will start to pick up a little bit more in June, especially going into July with Comic-Con. And then, yeah, so in general, there's a lot going on over the next little bit here. So there's a lot to talk about. And that's why today, again, I bring this up because, like, it does feel like for a long time, like, there's not a lot to talk about. And then all of a sudden, there's so much to talk about. And then it's like I have to pick and choose which type of videos I'm going to do because I don't really know what to cover because there's so much information. We got a teaser today. It was a Rick Grimes teaser, and again, I guess I would have talked about this beforehand, but I really wanted to talk about this one here, just because the teaser looks absolutely incredible. Like, you actually see Rick Grimes very close up here, and you first see like the silhouette here, then you see a bunch of clouds, or I guess gas kind of at the bottom here. Again, looks really, really incredible. Way more just like, you can tell this has been worked on a lot compared to the previous ones that are kind of similar like this. And then you get to a shot like this of Rick where you see just like the clouds or the gases around him kind of thing. But then you get to these shots here, which I do find very interesting. So first of all, looks really cool. Rick Grimes, you do see like the CRM soldier uniform. However, before this, you actually see both hands here. So that's what's a lot of people have been talking about right now, is you actually do see two hands here. And so what do I think about this? It's hard for me to say in terms of a lot of this, what I think this means, because this here could be promotional footage. Like, they could have came back and filmed this afterwards, right? So very hard to say in terms of that. But I will say, you know, there could be a thing with the CRM that it seems like in terms of whenever he does have like his uniform on and all that, like he has something that's sort of a prosthetic like that where it looks like a hand, right? That could be something that, you know, they want them to do, because I'm very like confident that Rick is going to be losing his hand. Like, at this point, I don't understand what it would be, like, just based off of what everyone has said. Scott Gimple, Andrew Lincoln, though, just they've literally been hinting at it for so long. Like, Rick is going to lose his hand. It would be so insane at this point for it not to be. But again, you see a shot like this, and it does make you wonder, right? Like, it does actually make you wonder, like, why isn't his hand missing here? Like, it should be his left hand, right? But again, his left hand isn't holding anything. His left hand is kind of just, it's down, right? Like, his right hand is the one that's holding the gun and everything. So I still think that it makes a lot of sense that, yeah, maybe he actually still doesn't have his hand here. And I think this is probably intentional, and we're going to see something like this in the actual show. So to me, yeah, this doesn't really change my mind at all. Really doesn't. But then we get this last shot here of Rick, which just looks absolutely incredible. And again, I have to use this for my thumbnail just because it just looks that great. Honestly, like, it really does it's just so cool to actually have Rick Grimes in a CRM like soldier uniform, because I always thought for the longest time that they would never do that. I was really under the impression that Rick would never join the CRM. I just always thought, no, he would never do that. It's not in his character. And you know, at first I thought maybe he would, but then I overall, like, for the majority of, I guess, me waiting for the show, I've thought, no, he would never join the CRM, until obviously the last couple of months or whenever it was that we've been kind of seeing a lot more teasers like this. And so it looks like Rick obviously does become a soldier here. It's interesting because we know a little bit more as to why, but it's fun to see the character, I guess like this, because he's like almost, I don't want to say evil, right? Like, this isn't Rick being evil, but he's on the bad side, right? Like, he's on the enemy side. So it's kind of cool to see in that sense. But yeah, I did want to get into some of the teaser stuff that I did miss yesterday. There was a couple of shots that I did want to talk about. There was actually one specifically I really, really wanted to get into. So first of all, there's this one shot of Michonne, which is very, very hard to, I guess, read into. And I'm guessing this is Michonne. It looks like Michonne. It's kind of hard to tell, but, you know, someone's holding a katana here, and I'm assuming it's going to be Michonne. And I don't know which episode this is from. Kind of hard to say. This really could be from any episode, but this is a new shot, so I figured that I would bring it up. Now, there is another shot here, and this is what I really, really wanted to talk about here. So we have this one shot of Rick, and we see him running down this hall, but then we have this other shot here of Michonne, and she's running down the same exact hall. Actually, she's more like walking down the hall, but we have Rick and Michonne in the same hall. Now, I was looking between both of the images here. I was like, is there a difference in terms of the daylight and all of that? And no, there really isn't a difference in terms of like daylight or anything like that. Like, they probably filmed this, although I guess you could see from the shadows a little bit. Like, actually, if you look at the shot of Rick, like, if you're actually looking at the shadows there on the window, there are like different angles there compared to, you know, when you're comparing Rick and Michonne, which makes sense. They would have filmed it at different times of the day, right? Like, they weren't filming it at the exact same time. Well, I mean, I guess that really just tells me that Rick and Michonne aren't here at the exact same time. But the interesting thing here is, I guess they're probably going to be doing this, and I'm guessing this is episode 3. So my guess right now is a lot of what's happening here is episode 3. we're seeing Rick run down this hallway. This could happen earlier in the episode. And then I feel like later in the episode, we could see Michonne walking down that same hallway. And we're going to be like, oh, wait, we remember this shot. But last time Rick ran down here. And so I just wonder if there's going to be something like that where you have the characters, run into each other this way. Like, I'm still kind of under the impression that it could happen indoors, right? Like when they actually reunite, it's going to happen in a place like this. It's not going to be outside or anything like that. And mostly it's because obviously spoilers, right? Like if they reunite outside, that could be very spoilery because people might actually see that. So reuniting inside a place like this, I'm starting to think is probably what happens. And it might be something that really is so random. Like honestly, I'm starting to believe that Rick and Michonne might actually like fight each other. Like it literally might be something that it's such a very fast scene where you don't really know what's happening. Like Michonne is just walking down the hallway here, and then she turns and she sees a CRM soldier, but the CRM soldier isn't looking at her, and so she tries to take the CRM soldier out, but obviously once you take the mask off, they're both going to be looking at each other and be like, Michonne, Rick, right? Like I wonder if that's how they reunite, because but Andrew Lincoln, he talked about the fact that when he and Denai Guerrero were trying to talk about like, how would we reunite? Like what's the craziest or most insane thing we could come up with? I wonder if it's something like that, like nothing that's going to be so emotional, this and that, but just a random, like, literally fight scene. Like, they're both about to fight each other kind of thing. And then as soon as Rick's CRM helmet comes off, because maybe he's not really looking, right? Like, he kind of just falls to the ground for a second. And then all of a sudden he looks and it's Michonne. And then they just see each other for the first time, right? And then maybe we're seeing it from Michonne's perspective, that means, right? Or maybe I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly. I'm trying to think of how they're going to reunite. That's one possibility. The other possibility is it going to be literally, are these different hallways? Like, I guess that's another possibility as well, right? Like maybe this is a different hallway and we have Rick running down this hall, Michonne running down this hall. I mean, it looks like the same hallway though, so that's the only thing. I don't think it's a different hallway, but maybe they're different hallways, but they intersect together, right? So Rick and Michonne are running down the halls or whatever, and they're both about to run into each other here, like right at the end. Like, maybe that's how it happens. I don't know. I'm looking at everything here, trying to figure out exactly how it's going to happen. I think I'm going to know, though, after episode 2. I will say that. Maybe it is shocking, but I think after we watch episode 2, so it's not going to be this weekend or the weekend after, it'll be the weekend after that, so like early March. I think once we watch that episode, I'm going to be able to say, okay, so based off the trailer as well for episode 3, I'll be able to say, okay, so I think it's going here, and this is probably what's going to happen, and I'm just going to be basing it off of like previous trailers and what we've already seen now from the trailers, right, in the first 2 episodes. It'll be a little bit easier, I think, for us to know like exactly how it's going to happen. But man, I'm telling you, the hype between episode 2 and 3 is going to be crazy, and especially between 3 and 4, because I think even in episode 3, they're going to reunite, but it's going to happen at the end, right? Like at the very, very end of the episode. So there's not going to be a lot of talking about this or that, but episode 4 will be the big one where they're like getting into this and that, talking about all of that. I do have a question for you guys though, and I guess we should talk about it. We'll talk about it after episode 2 or going into 3 or something. But do you think episode 3 could end on a cliffhanger? Because Scott Gimple likes cliffhangers, right? Like that was always a thing, at least back then. It's been a while though, because Scott Gimple hasn't been the showrunner for anything since season 8 of The Walking Dead. But back then, when he was the showrunner, there was a lot of cliffhangers like that, right? There was a lot of these moments that were really built up, and then it would end on a cliffhanger where you had to wait for the next episode. So would that happen here? What if episode 3 ends where Rick and Michonne see each other and they're shocked kind of thing? It's like this crazy moment, and then it just it ends there, and then we have to wait till episode 4 to actually see the whole thing. Do you think that could be a possibility? I will say I think it is a possibility. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to like that if they do that, because I kind of want the scene to mean a little bit more, but you do want to give them a lot more of a, I don't know. It's hard to say. It really is hard to say. So I'll leave that question to you guys. Do you think that that's possible? But yeah, these were the scenes that I really wanted to talk about. Like this stuff specifically, this is a lot to get into. And I can't believe I missed this, because when I saw the trailer, like this was the first thing, or the exclusive sneak peek teaser or whatever for that was released at the Super Bowl. I was like, I have to talk about this, and I totally did not talk about this. So I apologize for that, but I did get to it now. But yeah, we're 13 days away. Tomorrow, I will be doing my Q&A video. I mean, there could be other stuff that does drop. I do have a lot of videos to do. It's more about trying to like plan when to release certain videos. And yeah, it's kind of hard to say because, you know, I don't want to release stuff, and then a couple of days later, it's like it doesn't really matter at all, because that's been happening a lot. I'll have a video idea, then all of a sudden news comes out 2 days later, and I'm like, okay, I don't really have to do that video anymore. So yeah, it's just that time of year where there's just a lot of information coming out. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.